I'm Dr. Derek Molacek, applied faculty at Iowa Western Community College in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and on the online faculty for the North Texas Low Brass Camp. I am also a resident of the state of Nebraska. For today's instructional video, I will be talking about the D major etude on page 34 of the Voxman Book of Selected Studies for Trombone. This etude was written by Blazhevich and has a tempo of quarter note equals 110. This is to help in preparation for the 2020-2021 Nebraska Music Educators Association All-State auditions. The tempo for this particular etude is quarter note equals 110. I recommend starting it a little bit slower. And the etude itself will begin at the poco meno mosso section, not at the beginning. It will be played from the poco meno mosso to the sign, and then from the sign to the fine. I will now demonstrate this etude for you on my trombone. For this etude, we must keep in mind the tempo of Giacoso. We should also keep it light, rather than trying to play it hard. By light, with a lighter tongue, a lighter feel, and a lighter approach. The tendency for this one is to play it almost like you're beating it down, because it is quick, and many of the articulations in the 16th notes are awkward in this particular key. So we must also keep in mind the pattern, and that'll help as well. The most common pattern that we see in this is the 8th 16th pattern. Dun, ticka da, ticka da, ticka da. Once we have that down, that's going to make it a little bit easier to approach it. Even with the 4/16ths, they still follow that same pattern to a degree, with the first two being slurred in place of having the 8th note there. Dia-taka-da, dia-taka-da, dia-taka-da. Now, you can play this either single or double-tongued. I prefer to play it with a double tongue, and that way we can get more comfortable with our double tonguing. To get some of the tempos and the double tonguing consistent, play the passages without moving the notes. And then that will help with the approach there. On the last two lines of the piece, accuracy is going to be critical on everything. This is one of those where in some parts of this, we do not want to use the alternate positions with trigger. So rather than playing on the second bar, the 2/4 bar on the second to the last line, rather than playing the B natural in second with trigger, we do want to go out to 7th position. And the reason for this is because we're going to be out in 7th, 4th, and 6th position throughout that bottom passage for those 3 bars. Play this slowly because we want to get it as accurate as possible. And then when we ascend, on the poco a poco accelerando, we also want to still stay out in that same general area for the most part. We can stay in second position with the trigger early on for the first B natural on the 8th note of that 2/4 bar, but we still want to go out on that final 16th note. So playing that 2/4 bar would sound be like this. And make sure you go all the way out to 7th position on that. This last line is where we need to have good articulation and good intonation to make that passage of the arpeggiations in G major. Play that as an exercise and play it slowly before working it up to tempo. Going back to the DS, which if we were playing this Etude in full, we'd be playing this at the very beginning. We again need to be mindful of that same phrase with the 16th notes and the 8th 16th notes. This one's going to be a lot trickier in terms of the position fingerings. You're going to need to play this slowly and then work it up to tempo because there aren't really any alternate positions you can use, and you have to be able to play this as cleanly and as succinctly as possible. About the only place you can even consider using an alternate position is going out to 7th position, but this is at the end of the 3rd line, but we still want to stay in 7th position for here. And be mindful on the last 3 bars that you are no longer in the key of G major, which you are for the other half of the piece. You are in D major, so those are going to be C sharps. For those last 2 bars, clear, succinct, and in tune articulations for the G major arpeggio that is there. Feel free, for the sake of expression, to retardando slightly on that downward passage. The reason why I suggest this is not just simply because it's accurate. It is not accurate, but it does add that extra bit of emotionalism and individuality that brings out this Etude in full. Be sure to take a deep breath going into that last 2 bars so that you can play through the arpeggiation and hold out the fermata at the end. Breathing is going to be crucial here. Luckily, we have enough spaces between the notes, between the 8th 16ths and the quarter notes to 16ths, that there are plenty of places in which to breathe, even through the long passages. But make sure you get a big breath going into the last line at the bottom of the page. This way you can breathe through those 2 bars and emphasize the diminuendo coming down from that G major arpeggiation. I wish you the best of luck on your audition, and I hope you have a wonderful day.